Hey guys, tonight we step into the warm, smoky heart of the medieval village, the blacksmith's forge. Imagine yourself standing just a few feet from a roaring fire, the air thick with the scent of burning coal and hot iron. The rhythmic clang of hammer against anvil echoes like a heartbeat, steady and strong, shaping not just metal but the very survival of the community around you. Now, here's your first reality check. You probably wouldn't last a day without these artisans crafting your tools, horseshoes, and weapons, even if you fancy yourself a city slicker of the 21st century. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I'm always curious where this little medieval escape is landing you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step closer to the forge, feeling the heat wash over you. The blacksmith's domain is alive, a glowing bed of coals, burning red and orange, feeding a fire that could melt stone if given enough time. It's the kind of place that smells like sweat, soot, and potential all rolled into one. The forge was the pulse of any medieval settlement, a place where raw or transformed into life-saving tools. Without it, your simple wooden cart wouldn't hold together, your shoes would fall apart, and your farming would grind to a halt. Interestingly, the forge wasn't just a workshop, it was often the village's social hub. Locals gathered nearby, sharing news or swapping stories as the blacksmith worked. Some scholars argue whether the forge's central role was more technological or social, but there's no denying its importance. The blacksmith was part craftsman, part alchemist, part community pillar. You can almost hear the sparks flying, as if the metal itself whispered stories of centuries past. Now, here's a quirky tidbit for you. Some medieval blacksmiths believed that whispering to their iron could improve its strength. While this sounds like a superstition, it hints at the almost magical respect people had for metalworking. Whether or not the iron listened is up for debate, but it certainly helped the smith focus. Remember, in a time without scientific journals or YouTube tutorials, craftsmanship was as much about tradition and ritual as about skill. Historians still debate how much knowledge blacksmiths guarded jealously versus freely shared. Some think secret techniques were passed down only within families or guilds, while others suggest a more open exchange of ideas. What's clear is that the forge was a crucible of both fire and knowledge, forging the backbone of medieval life itself. The moment you lay eyes on the blacksmith's toolkit, you might think you've stumbled into a medieval hardware store, or maybe a wizard's workshop, if wizards carried tongs instead of wands. The anvil, a massive block of steel, sits like a silent sentinel, worn smooth by centuries of pounding. The hammer is the smith's magic wand, but instead of casting spells, it bends and shapes metal with relentless precision. And the tongs, are the smith's trusty fingers, gripping scorching iron that would sear your skin faster than a dragon's breath. You reach out, imagining the cool weight of the hammer handle, polished by years of use. These tools were deceptively simple, yet mastering them took years, maybe decades. The hammer alone comes in different shapes and weights, each suited for specific tasks, some for flattening, some for drawing out metal, others for creating intricate details. And the anvil? It's no ordinary block, it's a carefully shaped marvel with its horn, step, and hardy hole, designed to work metal from every angle. Surprisingly, the exact origins of many blacksmith tools are a bit murky. Archaeologists still debate how and when the anvil evolved into its recognizable form. Some early anvils were just large stones, while others, made of wrought iron, could be intricately shaped. It's fascinating to think about the gradual refinement, how necessity and creativity danced together through centuries. Now here's a fun, lesser-known fact. Some medieval blacksmiths carried around traveling toolkits for repairs on the road, tiny versions of their big workshop tools. Imagine a medieval handyman with a miniature anvil and tiny hammer tucked under their cloak, ready to fix a broken cart wheel or patch a saddle wherever needed. Makes you wonder if they were the original, on-call, repair people centuries before smartphones. The social aspect of these tools also intrigues historians. Did blacksmiths keep certain tool designs secret to maintain their status? Some evidence suggests yes, while other records show a surprisingly communal sharing of innovations across regions. Scholars continue to debate whether these craftsmen worked in strict isolation or part of collaborative networks, trading techniques along trade routes as readily as goods. And let's not forget the whimsical. Some smiths personalized their hammers with carvings or inscriptions, adding a touch of personality to their daily grind. Perhaps a medieval version of this hammer belongs to Bob. You get the sense that behind every tool was a story, a little piece of the smith's soul hammered into steel. Now you find yourself staring at glowing bars of steel, ready to be transformed by the blacksmith's skillful hands. Steel in medieval times was a kind of precious alchemy, one part science, one part mystery, and a whole lot of fire. You can almost smell the burnt coal and feel the heat radiate as the smith carefully heats, folds, and hammers the metal. It's a dance of fire and water where timing is everything and one wrong move could ruin hours of work. The process starts with forging, where raw iron is heated until it's red-hot and malleable. The smith then hammers it repeatedly to shape the metal and drive out impurities. But it's the secret art of quenching and tempering that really turns ordinary iron into strong, flexible steel. Quenching involves plunging the heated metal into water or oil, cooling it rapidly to harden the surface. Then, tempering gently reheats it to reduce brittleness, kind of like giving the metal a second chance to relax. Historians still argue whether medieval blacksmiths had fully mastered the chemistry behind steel or if their success was mostly trial and error guided by generations of observation. Some fringe scholars suggest that secret recipes passed down like precious family heirlooms included rare additives like manganese or even bone ash, although mainstream historians remain skeptical. What's clear is that the smith's hands held knowledge equal parts practical and mystical. A curious quirk of the craft was how smiths judged the metal's temperature. Without modern thermometers, they gauged the heat by the color of the glowing steel, ranging from dull red to bright yellow and finally to almost white-hot. Too cool and the metal was stubborn, too hot and it could melt away. One slip meant wasted fuel, wasted time, and perhaps a very grumpy customer waiting outside. Did you know some medieval smiths believed the phase of the moon affected their forging success? While this sounds like an old wives' tale, it highlights how much these artisans wove nature and superstition into their craft. Whether or not the moonlight truly influenced steel's strength remains a playful debate among historians. The art of pattern welding, twisting different metal layers to create beautifully patterned steel, also emerged in this era. Not just for aesthetics, these patterns often signified the smith's skill and sometimes helped improve blade strength. It's a reminder that medieval craftsmanship was never just about utility but also about pride, beauty, and subtle storytelling through metal. As you watch the blacksmith bend and shape the glowing metal, it becomes clear that their craft went far beyond swords and armor. The everyday life of a medieval village depended heavily on these artisans to create the countless tools and objects that kept daily routines humming smoothly. From nails that held timber frames together to locks that protected precious belongings, blacksmiths were the unsung heroes behind it all. Take nails, for instance, small, often overlooked, yet essential. Each nail was hand-forged, shaped by hammer and fire. The smith would heat a tiny piece of iron, flatten one end, and taper the other, creating a sharp point. This painstaking process meant nails were precious commodities, often reused and sometimes passed down with family heirlooms. Historians debate just how common nails were among peasants versus nobility, but everyone agreed you didn't want to waste a single one. Locks and keys offer another fascinating glimpse into medieval life. While modern locks are mostly standardized, medieval ones were as varied as the smiths who made them. Some were simple warded locks, while others incorporated intricate mechanisms that bewilder today's locksmiths. Quirky fact: some keys were designed to look like miniature swords, turning the act of unlocking a door into a small theatrical moment. Scholars still argue whether these designs served more for function or status display. Cooking pots and utensils also came from the smith's forge. Cast iron cookware wasn't just for castles. Villages relied on sturdy pots to prepare stews and breads over open flames. Oddly enough, some blacksmiths doubled as tinsmiths, crafting lightweight copper or brass items, though this required a slightly different skill set. It shows how versatile medieval metalworkers really were. You might chuckle to learn that blacksmiths occasionally made musical instruments, like simple bells or rattles, used in village festivals or religious ceremonies. Imagine the smith shifting from pounding iron nails one moment to delicately shaping a tiny bell the next. This dual role added a rhythmic soundtrack to their otherwise smoky workshops. One ongoing debate among scholars is how much blacksmiths influenced local economies beyond their craft. Did their work encourage trade and specialization, or were they primarily isolated artisans? Either way, their creations literally held medieval society together, one nail, one lock, one pot at a time. As you imagine the blacksmith's workshop filled with the steady clang of hammer on anvil, consider the young apprentices standing nearby, eyes wide and hands eager to learn. Apprenticeships were the lifeblood of medieval craftsmanship, a rite of passage that could last years and defined a person's future. These young learners weren't just helping out. They were absorbing the secrets and rhythms of the forge, passing down knowledge that was as much oral tradition as practical skill. The guild system governed much of this knowledge transfer. Guilds were like medieval trade unions and schools rolled into one, ensuring quality control, regulating competition, and protecting trade secrets. Apprentices started as lowly helpers, sweeping floors and fetching tools, gradually moving on to more skilled tasks under the watchful eye of a master smith. The path from apprentice to journeyman to master was often long and demanding, requiring both talent and social savvy. What's intriguing is how these guilds weren't always as rigid as you might think. Some historians argue that while guilds set strict rules, there was also room for innovation and occasional bending of traditions. Others suggest the system could be stifling, keeping new ideas out to preserve the status quo. Either way, guilds shaped not only the craft but the social fabric of medieval towns. Now here's a fun twist. Apprentices were sometimes sent to other regions to learn new techniques, effectively becoming medieval exchange students. This cross-pollination of ideas helped spread innovations, from forging methods to decorative styles. You might picture a young smith from England practicing quenching techniques learned in Italy, or a German apprentice picking up Scandinavian blade patterns. The social dynamics of apprenticeship also had its quirks. Some masters could be notoriously strict, while others treated apprentices like family. There are even accounts of apprentices pulling pranks, perhaps hammering a tiny horseshoe into their master's lunch just to see the reaction. These stories remind us that behind the serious craft was a lively human world full of camaraderie and humor. Historians continue to debate how much agency apprentices had in choosing their masters and how fluid these roles really were. But what remains clear is that through this system, the flame of craftsmanship was passed carefully from one generation to the next, forging not only tools but traditions that echo into the present day.